And I always pull out the one that's folded. Always. Uh-oh, we're going to have a good one today. The theme is karma, and our first teller is Chap Black. Come on down.
I don't even know if I'm using karma right, because this story doesn't hinge on good or bad, just balance. Like how I went into, let's say, a little bit of karmic debt, and how exact those bills can be when they come due. Renting my first place after college, I was not an hour from where I'd grown up. But what this white kid raised in the suburbs had learned about Detroit was chiefly bad people will probably kill me, and not so much what neighborhoods to look in or what social circles to find. But 700 miles away in Minneapolis, someone with no connection to Detroit had a web of contacts that made her a social network before that was a thing. And no sooner had I said, well, here's where I put my deposit down, she suggested some people 2 blocks down I could go meet. And at an earlier slam, I hinted that using her contacts for that left me with some stories off the beaten path, such as I got connected with some of the crew behind the Detroit Women's Coffee House, which was a monthly affair with roots in the 70s, put on by this very warm, welcoming bunch, largely drawn from the lesbian feminist community there, and welcoming even of someone like me. I hardly expected to feel like I'd found family there, but that's what happened. Now, how did I get those connections? Who made those for me? She's been in some of my stories before. We met in college, my junior, her senior year, and right away there was conversation, friendship like I had never known. And if you'd taken me aside and asked who I would want to be with if nothing were impossible, but that's the thing, it was impossible because she'd been careful to come out to me over our first pizza, so there would be no mistake. And so when our months of friendship came up against her graduation and likely goodbye, and then instead she rewrote everything I thought I knew about what's possible, that put me over the moon. It put her under the microscope. Friends weighed in. Was she being untrue to her identity? Was she going through a phase? Was she... And it got to where she had a falling out with an organization she'd been very proudly involved with, and teamed up with her friend Elise to start a new one called Buy Women Welcome. And if you're like me and you watch someone you love go through all that, you do grasp that the universe has dealt very generously with you, and karma might keep accurate books. After all that, we had just 3 years together, and for the dumbest of ordinary reasons, our jobs were in Minneapolis and Detroit, and we didn't nail the distance relationship. So I got to keep the memories and the surprising social connections and the start of this story. My next love was 6 years older, divorced about a year after a 4-year marriage. She had a 4-year-old son. And we'd been together not very long when she showed up at my door one evening with a sheaf of paper fresh off her computer. It was a short story, one that she had written and set aside some time ago and then spruced up for me to read. And its narrator at a college reunion runs by surprise into the woman she had traveled the country with in their Volkswagen van between terms, and later realized that she loved, but had left behind in order to marry the man who was expected and safe. And I finished reading, and she told me that she had changed only the names. And That's messing me up. Only the names, and in her 6 years older life, she had not seen any other choice she could make. How they would live, who their friends would be. And then she thanked me and my surprising social connections for how she could now see all that. And I did not get to stay with her, but I got to see her and her next love off to New York to raise their kids together. And the discharge of one karmic debt.
Chap. There are things I want to ask you. Like, are you married now? Are you in a relationship? I don't want to put you on the spot because I got somebody I want to hook you up with. As I've listened to enough stories, I'm thinking, all right. I know this was inappropriate. But when have I ever been appropriate? Okay? Listen, thank you for sharing that story. And if you listen to a story and one comes to mind, it is not too late to sign up. Because once we signed up a new teller at the very end, after we had finished the tabulations, and that's the person that won. Just telling you. I'm going to reach into this lime green spring basket, because it's still spring. Oh, this is really folded up. My hand went right to it. It was folded in fourths. Tracy, I thought you weren't going to fold them no more.
I don't want you to get to it quick, that's why.
Come on up, Tracy.
Okay. Now come on up. My unprepared story.
Those are the best ones.
Hey, Jen, your name in that basket? Oh, very good, very good. All right, here we go. This is up high today. This is up really high. Okay. This story I have told a few times to a few people because I think that people won't believe it. Now, today, and I don't know how recent this is, but a lot of people have been saying, oh, karma doesn't exist, karma doesn't exist. But I still believe in karma. And I still believe that it's good karma and maybe bad karma. And I'm going to tell you a story. Back when my children were, I guess, I had one in elementary school and maybe two in middle school. And one morning I was getting ready for work. I was getting dressed. My husband was getting dressed. Everybody was getting dressed to, do that mad rush when we were still living in Brooklyn. And everybody needed money this morning. Everybody needed money. My husband said, I don't have any cash. Can you give me a few dollars? Okay, I gave him a few dollars. One of my sons said, Mom, I need lunch money. And I gave him money. And then the other child, I think, needed money for something else they had to turn money in for. And usually when that many people ask me for money, especially in the morning, I get a little bit aggravated. And I thought to myself, dang, I'm not going to have any lunch money. But for some reason, I was very calm. A calmness came over me, and I didn't worry about it. Now, I had to take the youngest, my daughter Monique, I had to take her to school, drive her to school, and then go on to work. So Monique and I walked out of our building, went out into the courtyard because we lived in a building with two big buildings in there, and we were fenced in, and the wind was blowing. And when I looked, it was not leaves blowing at me, it was dollar bills. It was just blowing at me. And I said, Monique, look, grab it, Monique, grab it. And she grabbed it and she grabbed it. And I said, oh my goodness. I said, this is gonna be enough for me to have lunch money. And then I kept picking up the money off the ground. It was dollar bills and everything. We walked out of our fenced in yard, walked over to my car, and still laying right by my car was a 5 and 2 1s. I was like, karma. I do not have to worry about my lunch money. I could even give Monique something. I get her a breakfast sandwich on the way to school. I had the money, and I can only equate that to the fact that I was so peaceful about giving away what I had in my pocket, and I was not worried about how I was going to have my lunch at work that day. So I beg to differ with people who say karma doesn't exist, because that was the most positive proof to me that it does exist, as long as the spirit is right. And I got my reward that day, and that's my story.
I believe in karma. Because there's so many people I could have slapped. But I didn't. And later on they fell just like I had knocked them upside the head, you know. So I believe in karma. It's not supposed to be a revenge thing. It's supposed to be if you put something good out into the world, good will come back to you. That's what karma really is. No religious affiliation whatsoever, but keep doing good in the world. Now, I want you to know that Miss Ophelia is sitting here on the front, and when you get to 4 minutes, she raises her finger or waves her hand to let you know that you're running out of time. So either you have to speak quicker, or you just have to end your story. Now, I want you to know that our next slam is May 19th at 7 p.m. at Aristocrat Pub at the corner of 52nd and College. And the theme is broken bones or hearts. Your choice. But I'm going to reach into this lime green basket. I'm going to mix everything up. And I'm going to put, I pulled out a special name today.
It's May 15th.
It's May 15th.
Yeah, the 19th is Sunday.
Well, we're going to do both days. I'd like to tell you that I am a retired library media specialist, and one of the things we always did was we had birthday books, and we celebrated by singing happy birthday to people. And that was during the time when it was a copyright issue, because somebody actually had the rights to happy birthday. So a lot of places didn't come and sing happy birthday to you when you went out to their restaurant. But I had, it was like a whole speech, like many, many moons ago on April, what's today's date? 17th. The heavens smiled and a reader was born. Good fortune brought this reader, Jennifer Clee, to Indian Creek School, and in this case, Jamaican Breeze. And in honor of this most auspicious occasion, a birthday book has been donated to the Indian Creek Library. And we will sing our version of Happy Birthday. But since we're not in school, and since I don't have a birthday book, we're going to have to sing happy birthday to Jennifer Clee when she comes up, because today it's her birthday. And she's here to tell us story.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jennifer. Happy birthday to
I wanted the Stevie Wonder version.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Gosh, I forgot my story. So far, my 5 siblings and I have this interesting trend going on in my family where we have only married within our profession. So my sister, who's a veterinarian, she married a vet. My brother, who is a lawyer, married another lawyer. And my other sister, who's a doctor, married a doctor. I married a fellow teacher. And there's so many perks to marrying a fellow teacher. I highly recommend it. You can bounce off ideas about lesson plans, talk through sticky classroom management situations. your spouse is going to understand when you spend extra time at school attending students' sporting events or theatrical productions or band concerts. But by far, the best perk of marrying a fellow teacher is the shared breaks. And of course, there's no better break than summer break. And so the first year Danny and I were married, we really enjoyed that summer together. We worked camps, we went on vacation together, we swam, we slept in. It was amazing. But all good things must come to an end, and August eventually came, and that's when I discovered the worst part of being married to a fellow teacher. I had to go back a week before Danny. I know. And I tried to be very happy for Danny, but I was very jealous of that extra week of summer that he got. And going back to school for me was always so stressful. I'm an anxious person by nature, and never more so than at the beginning of the school year. There would always be a new course I was teaching, new technology to learn, dozens of meetings to attend. And I always had trouble sleeping the nights leading up to that first day of school. And the way I would try to calm my nerves would be by over-preparing. So I would pack lunches for the whole week. And I would hang up the clothes I was going to wear the first day of school. And I would write out a script for myself for the first day of school. Hello, my name is Mrs. Klee, as if I was going to forget my name and how to introduce myself. But that's what I would do, just so I would feel ready. Well, so I did all that that first August that we were married, and I set all these alarms so I wouldn't oversleep, hung up my dress, had my lunch ready to go, my script was ready. And that morning of the first day of school, I woke up way too early and tried to tiptoe out of bed because Danny was sleeping so soundly next to me. But when I got to my closet, I saw next to my very uncomfortable dress, Danny had hung up his swimsuit. And in that moment, it wasn't that I regretted marrying Danny, but I did regret marrying a fellow teacher. And I immediately started plotting my revenge. But I didn't need to because karma eventually caught up with Danny. 2 years later, our firstborn, Colby, arrived, and I entered into what I refer to as my first retirement. I became a stay-at-home mom. And while I don't get to swim whenever I want, and I certainly don't get the sleep I used to, I do get to sit in my pajamas and sip coffee while Danny goes off to school in the mornings.
Danny, that's called revenge. I'm sorry. You know, I used to go with a teacher. It didn't turn out right. I want to do a theme show called Johnsons and Yahoos, okay? Johnsons and Yahoos, or hoo-haws. You know what I'm talking about, hoo-ha, okay? Like the Nike whole controversy about the track uniforms, and one of the athletes said if I wore that, my hoo-ha would be showing. So I want to show how Johnsons and hoo-haws. Like you could whip your Johnson out and write your name in the snow. We can't do it, but the men can. You know, there's a whole folktale book called Peeing in the Snow. We're gonna have to talk, Ellen.
I'm helping her. I'm helping her over here.
Listen, I know somebody else out there has a story that they want to tell. I'd like to tell you about a couple of upcoming events. For instance, Freetown Village has an upcoming event on April 18th, that's tomorrow, at 6 p.m. Conversations about Indiana African American history and culture, featuring Anthony Conley, We Return Fighting, Defense and Defiance in Muncie, Indiana, and it will be at the Indiana Landmark Center. And Storytelling Arts has an event April 27th, 7 p.m. Our native Hoosier, Bill Harley, will be here telling Indy Raised at the Eugene and Maryland Blake, Indiana History Center. Now, I know somebody else out there has a story about Carmen. I think I have no names on these slips. What's wrong with y'all? Let me talk to y'all about Carmen.
I can do one.
You have Samantha is going to do a story about Carmen.
I can't think of one.
So shortly after we got married, my husband and I decided to turn our Greece honeymoon into investing in our first home. And we live still in that home, and we love our neighborhood. But when we first moved in, we were undoubtedly the youngest people on the block. And that was okay. Soon after we got our stuff settled in, and we were about to have our wedding, our new neighbors moved in. And they were about our age. They had dogs just like we did. And it seemed that they had similar lifestyle that we did. They liked to be outside, but they had, could tell they were doing some kind of like social event, like a game night, just all the things that we thought we would also enjoy. So every time our dogs would want to go out, their dogs would want to go out. And we became friends through a chain link fence because vice versa as well. Their dogs went out, our dogs went out. Eventually, we just decided to say, hey, do you want to do dinner sometime? Maybe we can all hang out. And we became close and fast friends with our neighbors. So much that we took trips together. We would have weekly bonfires out in the back. We would do dinners pretty regularly. And when it came time to welcome our first child, they were even there to help take care of the dogs, shovel the snow that had happened while we were at the hospital, and so on and so forth. A few months into 2020, our good friend also moved into our neighborhood, and we decided that it would be a good idea to all join forces and help him get settled in his new home. And we stumbled upon what can only be described as the cringiest school photo magnet from middle school that anyone could possibly have. And before he could swat it out of our hands, we all, chipped in. We're like, no, this is ours now. And we hung it proudly on each of our fridges. Now, like I said, we were pretty close neighbors, so if one of us went out of town, the other one watched those dogs, vice versa, kind of keep an eye on the houses. They had a key to our house, we had a key to theirs. Now, if there's one thing that my close friends and my family know about me is that I cannot stand to not know something. If there is something to know, I need to know it or it will drive me crazy. For instance, our neighbors ordered a new shower curtain and they thought it would be hilarious to not tell me what it looked like. And so for the weeks that it took Amazon in 2020 to send this new shower curtain, I would make guesses and they would say, no, instead of just telling me, until finally my husband said, I can't take it anymore. She won't stop talking about the shower curtain. So we had gone on a trip, we came back, house looked nice and neat as usual, dogs were back in their place, happily, greeting us on our welcome back. And all of a sudden I noticed that our friend's middle school magnet picture is no longer on our fridge. And instantly I know something's up. So I text the neighbors and I said, all right, where is it? And they said, where's what? And I said, you know what it is, where is it? And they said, we have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe look around your house. So for months, not even exaggerating, 4 months, I searched high and low in our home that I thought I knew so well for this magnet that I could not find. Eventually, after I said like a few months, I was walking up our stairs and I look at one of our wedding pictures, it's on a gallery wall, and I see that my husband is no longer my husband, but it's the middle school version of one of our good friends. It's taped on it. They got a kick out of that. To this day, they still remind me that it drives me crazy. However, eventually things change, situations move on. They ended up having to move. And although I was really sad, my husband and I both were, going through, it's gonna be a change to not have them next door every day. I decided to be the bigger person. And I sent them a congratulations on your new home card once they got moved in and settled. And you better believe when they opened that card, out fell the picture magnet.
That's hilarious. Lord, I'm gonna have to do this whole show with no wine. I don't understand. No wine, no Snapple, no Coke. Help! I did. That's okay. I wanted a Snapple with the. They had one. Anyway, the world doesn't need to know this. Listen, do you know that at the very end, we're going to have a drawing. We will ask you to fill out those green forms. I don't know if they're on the table or not. But those green forms will be part of a drawing for Bill Harley tickets at the end. Oh, they're yellow now. My bad. And I am not colorblind. Is there anyone else out here who has a story about karma? Come on, y'all. Y'all are messing up my record. Listen, a friend of mine's daughter just moved from Indianapolis to Las Vegas. Now, I'm a girl who's been traveling around the country all her life. Just got in my little red Maverick and drove it to the ground. But now, I can tell people, do not go the northern route, take the southern route. But sometimes you just need to be quiet. So she loaded up the 2 dogs and all her worldly possessions that were left and headed out to Las Vegas. Well, she left Sunday. I think she was supposed to leave Friday, but she left Sunday. And she got there today. And on the way, she had a flat tire right in front of the police who helped her get over to the side of the road, who helped her unpack the back of her car, who helped her change her tire, which meant that she then had to go, and it happened just an exit before she was supposed to get off. But she had to buy 2 new tires in the snow in Colorado. And I feel really bad because I should have just butted into her business and say, you need to go the southern route. But I didn't say that. But it reminded me of the time that I drove back from grad school with my great aunt and uncles in 2 cars. And we were moving me back to Indiana. And as we were driving, I had my great aunt Hermie sitting next to me, the car is loaded. My cousin with her father is in the car ahead of us when the tire blows. And you know how you try to behave around relatives and not cuss. But I held on to that Buick and didn't let it budge and glided off to the side of the road. And I looked over my Aunt Herb and I said, did I cuss? She said, no, you didn't cuss. You said 1 word, but you put all you could into that. So picture me having to go back to Ohio. This time, I'm getting the last of my load. My father did not put new tires on the car because it was his car. And when I got ready to leave and hugged everybody goodbye, I wore a beautiful light blue 2-piece suit, skirt and top. Cars packed up again as usual. And it's like, she said, you sure you want to wear that skirt? I will wear some pants in case I have to change a tire again. I said, oh, sure, that's not going to happen again. Sure enough, before I could get off the Ohio Turnpike, didn't my car get a flat again? I coasted over to the side. I tried to stand there and look helpless. You know, I could only stand so long because it was abnormal behavior for me. So I unpacked my car again, got the jack out, hiked up the car before I turned around and noticed a state trooper had pulled up behind me and he finished changing my tire. And I'm telling you, this is some skill that all girls need to have, okay? Now, is there anybody out here that I have forgotten who still has a story about karma? Because, I bet, dang, don't you have a story? Don't you have something to pay back? Because, my family are not teachers.
I've been thinking I have to come back.
Oh, you like to come back? Well, our thing will change, My family wouldn't go near my school because they knew if they went to my school, they don't have to do some work. And I once bribed my brother who wanted to use my car. If he came over and read stories to a couple of my classes, he could use my car for the rest of the day. And that's what happened. But I don't think he came back to the school ever again. Well, now.
Also story.
All right.
I just thought of one. I mean, it's short.
Shannon Sampson.
I will. Happy birthday. I'll tell a story because no one else wants to, and you're all a bunch of cowards. But my story will be short. Karma makes me think of the great Taylor Swift, right? She's coming to Lucas Oil in November. I plan to be at that show. Right now, we're just in the fantasy phase of that plan. I just think about what I'm gonna wear. I've already bought a hat and some boots. I have no idea how I'm gonna get tickets because, as you know, they are impossible to get. Now, am I a Swiftie? Yes, but not in that rabid way that some people are. I do enjoy her music. But now this whole me not being able to get a ticket is a point of contention, and I'll be damned if I don't get a ticket. Now I'm just like, I have to, because it's completely unfair, because I believe Taylor Swift is for the people, right? It shouldn't be a status symbol to go to a Taylor Swift concert. It shouldn't be like a house in the Hamptons or a sailboat. It should be Taylor Swift for her fans. We should be able to go. So yes, I'm thinking that she'll drop some more tickets and I'll be on the wait list along with millions of people from across the globe, but I still have hopes. So I should have, when she went to Cincinnati early in the Eras Tour, gotten a ticket then. But I thought, okay, we'll see. I didn't look into it. And then as time went on, of course, it became the hottest ticket to get, maybe ever. And now tickets are impossible to get. So this is really a story about envy, because I drove myself crazy about it all summer long. When I couldn't sleep, I would just look at Instagram and see all the celebrities that took their children to see Taylor Swift. And then I would unfollow them. As an act of defiance. Toni Collette, goodbye. Right? Yeah, I mean, she's a great actress, but, I will not be seeing what she does on Instagram. I still will see her films. So then I had this fantasy where this summer, she was doing 6 shows at SoFi Stadium in LA. So for fun and to waste time at work, I would just look and see what the tickets were going for at all the shows. So now I've determined that obviously when it gets closer to the start of the concert, the ticket prices will go down. And since we live in Indianapolis, the benefit will be I'll be watching those tickets, and if the show's right about to start, I believe the ticket prices will plunge, and I'll be like, I don't know, standing on the corner by Lucas Oil, and then be able to buy my ticket and run in, and or I could even get there from my house in just a little bit of time. So that's my plan for now, unless something happens, because I keep looking on the third-party ticket sites, and I mean, one single ticket way up in the nosebleeds is $1,600. They're $2,000. So the only thing that is really, the thing that's really irritating me right now though is, so here I am, I'm a grown woman and I have a job and I'm planning to go see Taylor Swift because I feel it is my right, it is my God-given right. And I keep hearing all these moms say, oh my gosh, I have to get my daughter a ticket to see Taylor Swift. She'll be so upset if she can't go. And I have to bite my tongue because all I think is, who cares about your daughter? That stadium is my stadium. I pay taxes, and Lucas Oil was built with some public money, so I don't think your daughter pays taxes, does she? And really, if she's such a Swiftie, where are her bags? Every woman knows that is how you show love for another famous woman you do not know. You adopt her hairstyle. I had the Rachel in the 90s. And because I live in Indiana, I had it for most of the 2000s. And until your daughter gets bangs, she's not allowed to go to Taylor Swift. Thank you.
I'm going. Thank you.
That's like me in Vegas the last time, and I thought I would try to go see Adele.
Oh.
And then I looked to see if I could go see Usher. And then for like $300, I could stand up to watch Santana. So that didn't happen. We went to Freed's Bakery instead. I highly recommend it. You can buy a wedding cake by the slice.
Oh.
Yes, yes. Let me remind you that we want to thank our sponsors, Maestro Organizing, and our media sponsor, WFYI, at Freetown Village and Storytelling Arts of Indiana. And I want to know, I'm going to ask one last time, if there's somebody else out there with a story about karma. Going once. What about that man way in the back? He got a story about karma? Huh? Okay, sure.
Next time.
Next time, okay.
Karma's gonna get you if you don't.
Well, anybody got a story about the daddy? What? It's not on karma. You got anything on anything, you know, about a dog training? Anything like that? My brother has a dog. I don't dislike animals. I'm just not an animal person. And my friends know this, and my family should. We used to have a dog. The dog came to the house when I was away at college, and her name was Cindy. But really, my mother had named her Cinderella Bloomfield.
That's too early.
And when she got to the vet, she was just too embarrassed to say that the dog's name was Cinderella Bloomfield, so it became Cindy. There was a brown dog that my drunk brother brought home, wearing a brown coat, had on a brown hat, and a brown puppy dog in his pocket. And my mother kept saying, the dog is too little. The dog needs to go back to her mother. But it got some, and she said something to my father, and my father looked at him. My brother's in high school, mind you. Looked at him and said, that's what the boy needs, a dog. So anyway, the dog became my mother's pet. My mother would come home. My father, when she'd be in the kitchen cooking, my father would go in the kitchen thinking she's fixing him something to eat when she was cooking a hamburger or either liver for the dog. Yeah. The dog never barked until I walked through the door. And that's the first time they heard her voice. Now, I am an animal person as long as you keep them. But they seem to know that I'm not an animal person. And if I go to your house, they will run around in circles as other people chase them, jump up, sit in my lap, haul themselves a spot where they can lay down and sleep. And I have my food and my drink in my hand. I'm just sort of sitting like this. But my brother has a dog named Tater Tot. When he adopted the dog's name was Tater Tot. He wanted to change the dog's. I said, don't change her name. That's a cute name. But the dog has no home training, none whatsoever. So the other day, I was out visiting friends. I was at a going away party. And I was tired. I didn't feel good. I found the house. It was 3 minutes from my home. I parked in the circular driveway. I had 3 bottles of wine in the back seat because that was my contribution to the party. And a dog was up at the front door. A little low dog, part beagle, part dachshund. And the dog all of a sudden, I said to the dog, tell your people to come out here and get this wine. Before I could get my foot out the door, the dog was right next to me. And he seemed to know what I was telling him. So right in front of my eyes, the dog's owner appeared. And I said, oh, thank you. And I said, what is the dog's name? And she told me the dog's name was Tater. Tater Hash Brown. That was just the cutest thing. But I'm telling you.
Yes, that is.
go home. I've only had one drink. So, well, let me remind you that our next Story Slam is May 15th at the Aristocrat Pub at the corner of 52nd and College, and the theme is broken bones or hearts. Oh, I got stories about both of those. And we want you to know that Bill Harley will be in town on April 27th, our last event of the series, and he's telling Indy Raised at the Indiana History Center. Now listen, have we collected the green sheets yet? Green
Yellow-
ones to collect?
the yellow
I'm
sheets.
sorry, they're yellow.
They use.
They need to keep changing these colors,
That
don't
are
they?
usually green.
Greens are
Okay. Now I know. We're gonna have a drawing, and we're going to announce the winners as soon as they tell me. But right now, I'm gonna go take another sip out of my Snapple.
Sip out of your snap.
Snapple.
You need some
You need to stop dropping stuff.
Well, I can, it'll take a second. I'm sorry, I'm walking in front of the camera.
I can pick that up. Okay, Shannon's gonna reach into this glass fish bowl. She's gonna reach in and she's gonna pick her name out, and this person will win free tickets. Might be a secret too. Tracy wins. Here are our tickets. And that was folded too. Okay, we're ready to announce the winners, and we would like to take pictures of the winners, so we can put them on our Facebook page, our social media pages. And the winners are. We're here at Jamaica Breeze. Thank you so much for having us. People have plenty of good food. I see oxtails. I see wraps. I see curry goat. But mostly the food is gone. This is so bad. Okay. Our third place winner, Tracy Wynn. Our second place winner, Samantha Powell. And our first place winner, Shannon Sampson. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing you at our next shebang. Thanks a lot.
Good.
Thank you.
Shebang, shebang, bang.
Yeah, no kidding.